Moonfall is a movie about the moon collapsing onto Earth, and that's the simple part. We haven't even gotten to the swarm of AI robots yet.
It's on airplane mode.
Moonfall begins when a routine space mission goes awry with two astronauts, Brian Harper and Joe Fowler, barely surviving what Brian can only describe as an attack from an unidentified source. Joe, having been unconscious, assumes the assault was some kind of solar flare. The disagreement leaves the colleagues and friends estranged, with Brian becoming a washed-up deadbeat to his only son, Sonny, while Joe moves up the NASA ladder. 10 years later, a conspiracy theorist named KC discovers that the moon has been knocked off its orbital path and is on a collision course with Earth. He winds up teaming up with the two former friends to figure out how to correct the moon's course, but they both balk at his theory that the moon isn't what it seems. They begin to grow more sympathetic to his crackpot theories when Joe is promoted to head of NASA and given clearance to see the original footage from her and Brian's botched mission. There she meets a mysterious spook named Holdenfield who explains he's been responsible for covering up the truth about the moon since Earth's earliest expeditions. Joe starts to come around to the craziness when she witnesses with her own eyes the phenomenon that Brian tried to get her to believe, a heart-stopping swarm of black nanomachines. She surmises that whatever this entity is, its presence is what set the moon out of alignment. If Earth is to be saved, it needs to be dealt with. But even though NASA's top brass have been aware of the moon not being what it seemed for decades, they don't know its true nature. All they know is that whatever it is, it's more advanced than humanity can handle. Initially, in response to the moon threat, Joe had scrambled an emergency mission with the help of some European allies. The intent of the mission was to see what's inside the 26-kilometer deep crater on the moon that the black swarm had come out of. But that mission killed everyone involved, so Plan B has to be a little more drastic. With no faith or support from the rest of the government and very little resources at their disposal, Joe has to bring in Brian, who encountered the entity before, and KC, whose status as a megastructurist might prove useful, especially now that she knows most of the accepted knowledge surrounding the moon is completely useless. The new plan is to get a lander onto the moon's surface equipped with a super powerful EMP the military had been developing for years to deal with NASA's secret moon problem. The project had been abandoned as too costly, but one working prototype still exists, which is what ends up being used in an attempt to destroy the black swarm. As the moon's gravitational pull and exponential velocity increases, the plan starts to look impossible to pull off. The one usable rocket loses one of its engines. The moon itself begins to fall apart as it gets closer to Earth's atmosphere, sending debris all across the landscape. But the gravity tsunami that the moon brings with it proves to be useful in getting a rocket out of orbit, even without the engine thrust necessary to get the rocket to properly launch. Unfortunately, this scientific revelation comes after everyone working for NASA has been released to go home and find shelter with their loved ones, leaving the film's three leads to embark on this insane mission alone. With the original Plan B already looking like a failure, the military-industrial complex gets hard at work on a much more logical solution to this absurd problem. They're going to nuke the moon. This adds extra pressure onto Joe and Brian's mission as they're stranded out in space, unsure of whether their cowboy maneuvers will even work, and if they do, they have no way to communicate with the military to stop them from nuking the moon to smithereens. But Joe does have one contact on the inside, as her ex-husband Doug is with the Joint Chiefs in the Colorado Doomsday bunker Joe was supposed to bring their son to. Compared to Joe and Brian, Doug is a straightforward guy who isn't exactly thrilled at the nuke the moon plan, but in the absence of better, more concrete plans, sees it as humanity's only chance to keep from having the moon hitting everyone's eyes like a big pizza pie. If only he had some way to know that his ex-wife's long-shot plan of getting a rocket into space actually worked. Luckily, Brian's son Sonny, alongside Joe and Doug's young son, saw the rocket take off. They've been driving to the Doomsday bunker themselves, running into all manner of peril. But Joe's son has a satellite phone with a direct line to his dad, so they're able to notify Doug that the mission is active. If he pulls the trigger on launching all those nukes, he'll be pulling the trigger on dooming his son to grow up without a mother. This leads to a standoff between Doug and every other authority figure in the bunker right at the moment they're meant to begin the launch sequence to initiate a nuclear onslaught on the moon. It's a crazy bit of drama because Doug doesn't understand Joe's plan, how it's going, or if it's even feasible. All he knows is that Joe has never let him down before. But the plan is essentially screwed. Brian's initial idea is to lure the black swarm out by exploiting its reaction to electricity before destroying it with the EMP, but it sees through their ruse. When it tries to destroy the ship, they realize it's not solely electricity that the swarm responds to, but rather organic matter alongside machinery. With no other recourse, Brian pilots the lander into the deep crater the swarm is retreated into, and that's where the real fun begins.
You know, we are just inside the moon.
That might be the greatest sentence anyone's ever said.
The inside of the moon is, as Casey had theorized, a megastructure, an enormous vessel crafted by advanced alien life. He says some in his community believe that all megastructures are arcs, but what they discover next proves he's only half right. As the swarm tries to destroy them, there is another opposing force within the moon's core, one that takes over the controls of the ship and guides them to safety on the other side of a blast door, an area they discover that has air. When Casey and Joe wake from the crash, they discover Brian is missing and go exploring this newfound space. But Brian is already communing with an entity that possesses all the answers. It speaks to him in the guise of his son, but it's the operating system for the super machine that is the moon. It's a megastructure, but it wasn't created by aliens, it was made by humans. As told to Brian, the moon is an ark created by a form of the human race that was far more advanced than ourselves. They had created a utopian society and proliferated throughout the cosmos. But one day, the artificial intelligence they had created to help run this society grew sentient, turned on them, and vowed to destroy all of humanity. They created moons to find suitable places to build new planets to be seeded with human life. Our Earth is only one successful settlement created from the moon and seeded with human DNA. The moon orbits the Earth to protect it should the AI swarm ever find it, as it has now. The operating system tries to understand why Brian is so willing to risk his life to save the rest of the planet, and his answer, about love for his own son and for his race, lets the moon know he's ready to get back into the game and stop the AI. It supercharges their ship, gives Brian what can only be described as temporary superpowers, and sets him out to get into a dogfight at the moon's core with a malevolent swarm of human-hating nanomachines. The ensuing laser battle culminates in the realization that one of them is going to have to stay behind in the lander to detonate the EMP and put a stop to the swarm for good. Brian has decided to sacrifice himself, but someone else has other plans. Casey, a man who has spent his whole life having his scientific beliefs treated like a joke, who no one ever thought would amount to anything, has finally gotten to see space and see his research and life's work validated. Casey has, in the last few days of the film's narrative, lived more of an exciting life than he previously had in all his prior years combined. That's why he can't let Brian or Joe stay behind when they have children on Earth that need them. Brian must go back now as the main conduit to the moon's deep reservoir of knowledge regarding humanity's secret history. Casey is going to stay behind and culminate the unlikely journey he embarked upon at the film's introduction. He sacrifices himself, defeating the swarm and making it possible for Brian and Joe to reunite with their families on Earth. His sacrifice doesn't seem to be permanent. As the film closes, Casey rematerializes in the same space Brian learned about the moon's true origins. Only now, the operating system presents itself as Casey's mother and his cat Fuzz Aldrin. It explains that his consciousness has been uploaded into the moon's supercomputer and that his work is far from over. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.